One of our brands at Res grew to 2.2 million in revenue in less than 6 months from Meta alone. And if we are to include Google, that's right around 4 million, which is incredible pace for a brand. And if you're a smart founder watching this, you're probably rolling your eyes when I say revenue, because you should be. The first question that you should be asking is, what is the profitability like, and what did we actually test to be at this scale? So I want to pull back the curtain a little bit on how we actually did it, and I'll show you what we learned and what we'd do differently if we are to start and do it at this pace again for another brand.
The first topic that I want to talk to you about is more spend doesn't really mean better profitability. It just means that you learn faster. So if you're spending $150 a day, you would, assuming that your AOV or your the price point for you to get your customers, for example, like $500, you would be able to get a learning after 4 or 5 days. But if you're spending $3,000 a day, then you would be getting 5 times faster than if you would otherwise spend at 150. So being able to spend at a higher level means that you just get the learnings faster. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have better profitability. So that is a key thing here, because right off the bat, I'm going to say that the first 1 to roughly 2.5 months was unprofitable for this brand. We were paying so much to get one customer, but eventually, because we were able to learn faster, we were able to flip that switch within a couple months, where a regular brand who doesn't have a lot of runway with ad spend would probably take months and months, or probably even years, to dial that in. So we were able to fast track that by just having a higher spend. And for background here, this brand, which is in the telehealth space, is it's VC backed, so they have more runway than a regular e-com brand that is all bootstrapped. And the goal for this telehealth, which, as you know, has a huge LTV per customer, is to get 10% market share within 1 year. So we are entering a space where it is already matured. And second is that it's just so competitive. And the third is just it's so heavily regulated, because it's in health and wellness. It's also in telehealth with prescription medicine. So you can see that there's a lot of hoops that we had to jump to be able to scale this. And just a few background on the market-wide metrics here. The average order value, which is the first order for a customer from here, is right around $450. And the LTV is right around $3,300. So depending on your brand, depending on your offers, you're able to increase this to probably 5,000 to 6,000. And LTV is how much revenue do you get per customer on their lifetime. So I understand that in regular e-commerce, you do not have this luxury of a high LTV, because most of the time you're dealing with like 700, if even like $500 LTV for an e-com brand. And so the reason that there's a lot of competitors in this space is because of this is just so high, and the cost to acquire it is not that expensive compared to the LTV. I want to talk about what are the common barriers that we encountered when growing this brand. The first couple things here are it's very competitive, and we're already late in the market, which means that our competitors have already taken up a lot of the market share, and they have pretty much more runway. And so we are late to the party on this one. So we had to advertise aggressively, hence having a higher budget for advertising in the start. And as you can see here, acquiring a customer is also really expensive for telehealth. Like we were looking at $5,600 in the first month, and then we were able to lower that to $4,900 second month, and then $2,600 in the third month. So it's only right around like 3 months when we were actually able to get to a healthier metric. And eventually we were able to drop it down again. But imagine paying in e-commerce, like imagine paying $5,600 to get $3,300 in lifetime revenue. That's just not very good unit economics. And so that is one of the biggest barriers that I see from founders trying to compete in this market, is that they cannot take the hit of the first 1 to 3 months, which is just going to be unprofitable when you're just testing. The other problem here is differentiation. Running offer for everyone here is that the first consult that you have for any brand is free. So that means that as a brand, you would have to create your USP differently than everyone, because everyone's just selling the same thing. They're running the same offers. They're running the same sales. And so differentiation is really difficult for any new brand. Imagine for an e-com brand, imagine not being able to say 50% off or 40% off versus your competitor. The other biggest problem that we had is legal compliance. Because this is within the telehealth and health industry, legal is very, very strict. We literally have like a 3-page document just showing what are the things that we cannot say and we cannot do on the ads. And so our editors, our creative strategist has to ingest all that information before even making the creative. And I would say like 30% of the time our creatives get rejected by legal just because it's not compliant. And so we had to redo the entire thing. And to give you an example, what this looks like is a big thing. Legal compliance in Canada is that you cannot advertise outcomes. So you cannot advertise the end result of your product. So if you are to mention the brand, you cannot mention the result. If you are to mention the result, you cannot mention the brand, which is just so difficult to get around with. And that is one of the reasons why a lot of people in this space are also getting a lot of notices from Health Canada. Okay, now moving into what did we do right when scaling this brand? And right out of the bat, I would say is creative diversity. And creative diversity, we had it built in since the beginning. So you can see some of our month 1 creatives here, and then our month 2, month 3, month 4 creatives. And you can see is they're just so diverse. Like we were testing statics, videos, trendy formats, we're testing UGC, we're testing TikTok, love letters, just so much different creatives and avatars that we're testing from the start. And our creative volume right around this point is about 100 creatives a month. And we know another brand who's doing 100 creatives a week. And we are pretty much getting the same results, just with different creative outputs. What I see a lot is brands are saying that they are testing a lot, but the tests that they're making are not meaningful enough, aka they're not diverse or not separated enough from the other creatives. Building your creative diversity from the start is one of the key levers that you have to get better learnings from your ads. So think beyond UGC, think of, how can you leverage AI? How can you try TikTok trends even? How can you leverage authority? Like, is there a doctor or professional that you can work with? Or is there a nurse in your industry that you can work with that would act as a authority figure for your avatars? And at the same time, like how many avatars can you test within a month? And so because we were testing with intentionality, we knew from the start what would take us from 10,000 to 50,000, 50,000 to 200,000. So we were learning along the way about what works and what doesn't, just because we are testing so many different formats and different angles. And just to give you an idea on the top formats that we're getting here, we were testing a lot of statics and videos as well. And our top performing formats were, as you can see here, statics and video UGC. We did have high production as well and some iterations, which only consisted of 1.7% and 20% new UGC. And then these are 29.8% are existing footage and just re-editing them to become new briefs. As you can see, like that took most of our creative volume, but still most of our winners are coming from these guys, which is the 20%. Don't worry about the numbers here because that changes month to month, but we were getting most of our winners from our new videos. So knowing this from the first step, 14 days and 30 days of launching a brand would really give you an idea on what to lean on as you increase your spend. Because for a regular brand, like they would take months and months to get to this level of what are my top formats, what are my top angles. But for us, because we had a little bit more runway, we were able to do that quicker. And then in terms of the avatars that we were testing, as you can see here, it's just a snapshot, we were testing different types of ethnicities, different types of avatars. We're leaning on some younger person here and then a little bit older. Yeah, we're testing aspirational avatars, and then we're also testing relatable avatars, kind of look like, what would look like your avatar. And we have a theory here where Meta prioritizes the faces that are seen in the creative. So for example, like if you see me in a creative, Meta is naturally going to drive that ad towards people that look like me or avatars that are similar to me. And so if we have a person who, somebody who's used the product before, somebody that looks like our avatar, then it is our easiest way to show that creative to tell Meta, hey, can you find somebody else that looks like this person? That's really most of our avatar testing is how can we show another face to show them to people that look like them. So don't be afraid to test multiple avatars or even to go out of your way to find a new one. What did go wrong? So There's a lot of things that went right and when we scaled, but also there's a lot of things that went wrong. And most of that is really our funnel was just broken. And we were able to drive eyes into our funnel, but our biggest problem was our low intent audience. So what that means is that people are clicking our ads, but they're not converting. So either they are falling off of our quiz flow or they're just not ready to buy yet. The cost per acquisition, the CPA, is cost per purchase is much more expensive. So we're getting low intent customers. And the second thing is that our flow is just unclear. You do not know like how many questions you had to answer. So that's one of our biggest problems that we had. We literally did not tell them like this is question number 3 of 18. Yeah, we pretty much just expected them to go through a barrage of questions about their personal life. And again, like if you are creating a quiz funnel, make sure that it's clear from the start how many questions they have to go through. And our flow was also long as hell. Like when we did the comparative analysis versus our competitors were doing it in 30%, 40% less questions than we were doing. And so if we are to, expand our test, it would be shortening up our quiz flow and making sure that people get to the checkout page faster. In telehealth, you are required to have a quiz flow because you have to qualify your audience from the start. It is not like e-com where you just click the ad and then you're on the PDP right away. But for telehealth, you have to qualify them first. You have to ask them personal questions, and in the end, you would also have to sign them up in order for them to go through the rest of the flow, which is getting the medication, talking to a professional healthcare practitioner, and pulling out their credit card and purchasing. Another thing that went wrong for us was we were iterating too granularly. So our iterations really was just too small. So we were getting lost in the sauce of we're testing different hooks. Like at one point, we're testing like 7 hooks for one creative. And then we're also testing different CTAs. So these are what I call smaller swings because a hook is probably increase your hook rate and will likely lead to a higher outbound click-through rate. But at the end of the day, you can either test 100 different hooks or you can test 20 other avatars or 20 other different formats of creative. And what's going to take you to your next performing creative is not by creating this Lego block of perfect elements, but by creating a new format, a new way of trying to speak to your audience. So that is done by bigger swing creatives. So it's going back to testing new avatars, testing, talked about it here, testing new avatars, testing new formats, and diversifying like the type of creatives that you're doing. So what can you learn from this small 6-month test that we were doing? First one here is you want to build your moat before everything else. The good thing that we did in the beginning was we were able to dial in our offer. So we were able to offer something that our competitors was not able to offer. So we added coaching on top of the plan instead of just doing the medication and then having a support. So by having a unique selling proposition, we were able to compete differently and we didn't have to compete on price versus everyone. Now we were still doing price and cost-based creatives, but when we leaned on the value of our offer, which is coaching, we were getting higher intent customers and we were also getting higher quality customers from those creatives. So really important to build your moat before everything else. Diversity over volume. And if you are to lean on volume, it would be intentional volume from the start. So creative diversity would be the easiest lever here because there's a lot of formats that you can test. You can just look at TikTok, you can look at Instagram and just see what are the content that your customers are consuming on a daily basis and how can you insert your branding into that type of content so it feels native, it looks native for your customers. And then the third here is that money doesn't really get you better profitability, it just gets you speed of learning. And with speed of learning, you're able to scale faster, which means that you're able to afford better talent in the future. And so yes, long-term wise, it gets you there, but in the span of like 6 months or less, spending more just gets you better learnings. So if you are thinking of advertising from zero, just know that the money that you put in will not go to waste because you are learning from that data. So what would otherwise take you 1 year, 2 years to learn, you'd probably learn it in 3 weeks or less. So yeah, it's a good rule of if you're testing, test hard, test fast, and kill fast, and launch your ads fast. That's how you get out of the learning phase and the uncomfortable phase of testing. And lastly here, which connects to diversity over volume, is big swings over the smaller swings. So big swings, lean on different formats, lean on different offers, different avatars. Don't just stick to, if you have a performing hook, don't just replicate that hook for 100 times iterations. Lean on, if you have a working format, ask yourself, what are the other formats that I have not tested yet? And if any of those formats have worked, then how can you combine that with a different avatar? So these three things, these three spokes, I would say are your biggest levers for your creative. So if you are focusing too much on media buying, focusing too much on small stuff, just pull back a little bit and see if you can change these three. That's it. And that's how we scaled a brand to $4 million within 5 months.